So in today's episode, I'm going to go through the permissions of Basecamp. And there's actually only 3 levels, which is so simple, it's insane. There's the admin level, or the account holder, the CEO, the business owner. There's everybody else within your organization. And then there's a 3rd layer, which is to collaborate with your clients or external collaborators and so on. So let's just get straight into it, because I don't want this to be another long video, because I was watching my older videos and they just seemed a bit too long. So let's get straight into it. Now, this is, again, Lucy's account. Lucy is somebody who works for me, as it were. It's my demo account. And what we're going to do is basically, I'm going to show you what these 3 areas are. So the headquarters here is where everybody within the organization has access to. So it's kind of like an area where you have resources for the company, announcements, company chats, and things like that. The next area, teams, well, actually teams and projects, when you don't have access to them as somebody who is part of the organization. You only have access to teams, certain teams and projects when you are given access to, when you are invited to, that's the word. When you're invited to the project or the team, that's when you have access to everything within that team or project. But the admin, or the account holder, being the admin basically, has access to everything, all projects and all teams and so on. It's just everybody else within the organization only have access to teams and projects that they've been invited to. So what we're going to do is show you the 3rd layer, which is collaboration with somebody outside the organization. So Lucy is, I'm a coach and trainer, and this is how I do my coaching basically. So I usually create a new project from a template that I've created called coaching. Then I will put the client's name in. Usually I just work with first names because I think that's just much nicer. Oops, sorry, pushed the wrong button there. Start again, coaching next, Tim, save. So then it's created the project for me. Now when I go into the project, this is basically how I've set up my coaching project. So I'll go through very quickly. Message board is basically when people, when my coaching clients actually has a question for me, and we do it that way. Project is the tasks that we do, and as you can see, there's a welcome page, and there are certain tasks that I want my clients to do before we start, basically, because they need to download Basecamp, etc., and set up a coaching call. Chat is basically a quick chat rather than them sending me an SMS or WhatsApp, which I don't use. I encourage them to use the chat feature. Documents, self-explanatory. I give access to all documents, so everything to do with the contract or the invoice or anything, resources, anything that's a document, we basically place it in there. Schedules are just literally that. When we schedule a call, I want to make sure that they're all in one place and people can actually see what's going on. And progress is the questions that I ask on a regular basis, so I can still interact with the client and give them, so they can give me feedback and I can give them feedback. So let's go and actually invite Tim. So this is very simple. In fact, before we invite Tim, let me invite someone else within the organization, so I can show you the differences between the two. So I'm going to invite me into it and send now. So now here. So I now have access because I'm the admin. I was given access by Lucy, so I'm in there. Now let's go and invite the client. So let's get Tim in here. Oops, sorry. Add Tim, and Tim at medjunkie.com. Again, this is a fictional person, obviously. Send now. Now, when we go to Tim's account, So he's got an email, he created an account. I'm not going to go through all of that. He's created an account and he comes into this. Now, when we give access to Tim, when he logs in, and I just refresh, so when he logs in, he will see access to the account and what he can see. Now notice there is, what's missing actually? Let's go back to Tim. Schedule, project, I don't know what's missing. Oh, of course, the chat is missing. The chat is missing. Okay, so this is basically everything that he sees, but we're not done yet, because within each area, that's why the chat is missing, we can give specific access to specific things within that project. So if I click into chat, you notice chat is actually only available to the team, to within the organization. But we can change that and say, actually, I want the chat to be available for the client. Obviously, this Basecamp or this project is between me, Lucy, and the client. So I want the client to be able to contact me via the chat. So if I save that and then go back to Tim's account, you'll notice the chat is there. And then we can communicate here. Hey there, Kay. Let's say Lucy, because obviously that's her project. And then in Lucy's account, she will see, hey there, and then obviously we can, hey back. Okay, very boring, but that's basically how it works. Hey back. So that's that part of it. And you can see a kind of a small timeline of what's actually going on within these windows, effectively. Same with the documents. Now, admin is something to do with me, so I don't want my clients to see what's in the admin, because there's certain information that I want to keep private to me. So this admin area, I'm not going to give access to the client, basically. Although, see, there's nothing there. They have no access to anything that I've created here. But if I click on resources and say, I want the client to have access to the resources folder, save. Now, when we go back to Tim's account and refresh, you'll notice they have access to this folder and this folder only, and they can basically upload items into that folder. And the same with messages. So if I go to the message board and I will say, hey, Lucy, let's just call it follow-up. Hey, Lucy, hey, Kay, because this is Lucy's account. Did you manage to contact the client? Now, if you notice about, I don't know, working with you. Okay, I don't know. So now this is another important thing. So now this area, this message board, is actually for the organization, but it's not set. It's not set to. The client isn't set to see anything unless you actually give them access to see that specific post. So obviously, if I just post this, now the only person that will see it is me. Is actually just me, because it's not set up for the client. So if I go to the client and refresh, there's nothing there at all for the client. In fact, it's when you click on it, it's actually asking to post something. So you can be really granular with the messages that you want to for the client to see. So if you're collaborating on a project with the client, there's information that you don't actually want the client to see because it's all internal. But then that information can stay within that project. Again, context is a huge thing with any project. So making sure everything is in that one project, one space, enables you to talk with your team members about that project away from the client, but then give access to the client when you need specific things that the client needs to see. Okay, and that's basically what I'm showing you now. And that basically works with all the other features. If you notice here, there's nothing in the project section, but obviously what we need to do is go into these tasks and assign them to Tim. Oops. This whole list needs to be seen by Tim, and then I can add Tim, save, and so on and so forth. So now when I go back to here in the project, the client will see all the tasks in that project. Notice tasks and everything within. But in the actual project, you notice there's an admin list as well. But that again is more to do with internal communication and internal admin tasks to do with the project internally. Obviously, you don't want the client to see all of that. But again, it's all in one place. So these permissions, the way that they're set up is so simple in the way that big yellow banner saying the client can see this. So it makes it so simple, so you don't have to worry about IT departments who can see this and groups and so on and so forth, because basically everything is set within that project. And again, all the other features are the same. Let's just create another message so I can show you what I mean here. So I just call it welcome. Hey Tim, welcome to this project. Now, I want the client to see this. Let's do that. And I will, again, let's go down here. The whole point of notifications, again, is you should only notify the people that need to be notified. So this message is actually for Tim. Kay or your other team members probably don't need to see this welcome message, this specific message. So you can actually set who can be notified. Now, I don't want my other team member to be notified. Bear in mind, I'm Lucy right now, so I don't want Kay to be notified. I only want Tim to be notified. So I save that. So when I post this message and the client can see it, if I go to Tim's account and I reload, there is that message. Now, we know that we created two messages, one for an internal communication and one for external communication on the message board. And Tim only sees what he needs to see because that's what we set up here. So this message can be seen by the client and this message cannot be seen by the client. So Basecamp has actually made it really, really simple with these permissions and how they're actually set up to know exactly who sees what, how they see it, and which project that they see it in. So it's actually very simple to set up. You don't need IT departments necessarily to help you with all this. You need people to probably train you with it, but you don't need an IT department to help you with permissions because they're all baked into Basecamp itself. Anyway, that's the episode today with permissions. It's very simple. You don't have to overthink these things with the permissions. Again, there's only 3 levels: the admin layer, i.e. the person who owns the business, the CEO and stuff, everybody else within the organization, and then the client and the collaborators outside the organization. And with the teams and the projects, anyone within the organization don't have access to them unless they've been invited. And the client only sees the items within a project that you set that they can actually see that item, basically, see that message or whatever. Anyway, hopefully that's clarified certain things within the permissions. If you have any questions, please leave them below or send me a message through my website. Again, I'll have another Basecamp video for you tomorrow. Till then, have a great day and I'll see you then. Ciao. Bye-bye.